I've heard people say Instagram, you're not going to get good leads on there. And I'm like, dude, I've made multi-six-figure deals on Instagram. A lot of things that business owners tend to do wrong is they try to be too...
Introducing Dain Walker,
entrepreneur and branding expert.
Also a podcast host and the CEO of
Australia's fastest growing brand strategy agency.
Helping business owners to scale their brands.
But I would say you can't film an Instagram video and treat TikTok the same way and treat YouTube Shorts the same way. You can't just copy and paste content anymore. You have to have content these days. You have to have an epic website. You have to have a bit more aggressive plans when it comes to how to market yourself because you're competing with the world now. When you're looking at social media content, there's really only 6 or 7 things that make something go viral. So first and foremost,
isn't it wild, the variations between the statistics between the platforms? We have stuff that goes like fully bonkers viral on one platform and doesn't get a look in on the other.
Had that happen. So I got an interesting story then.
If you're into property and development, join the Little Fish Network for free and unlock your $20,000 townhouse masterclass today. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. It takes 2 seconds and it's free. Well, let's do it. Welcome back to Australia's #1 podcast. We are Little Fish and we speak to the big fish about town each and every week. Please, guys, for every subscribe, follow, or review in 2024, we'll be donating $1 to our amazing charity, Epidermolysis bullosa, which is EB, Ben. The worst disease you've never heard of. So please, and if you want to make a bigger splash, littlefishpodcast.com.au, the big pink button. It attacks our most vulnerable, our children. So please, you know, have a look, do some research, get involved, give a little bit at least, subscribe. Love it. Perfect, Benny. Dano, man, it's awesome to have you back. You're a second timer.
Yeah, we haven't had too many of them.
Second timer, so if anyone wants to go back after listening to this great man and hear his original podcast, which goes deep, man, that was deep from memory.
It was good. Full story.
It was powerful. That was last year. Please go back and have a look at Dain Walker, mate. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back, man.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Good.
So last time we were in a skyscraper, now we're in this really cool. I don't even know where we are.
Yeah.
That makes 2 of us.
It's a long way from home for you, but yeah, no, we're in the city last time.
Yeah.
It was good. Don't get us wrong. It was good, but man, we're just simple people. We're out. We're how far from the beach are we, Brucey?
10-15 minute walk.
I can smell it, man.
10-15 minute
smell
walk.
The salt water. It's great.
Doors are open. Pool's out the back. Feeling the vibes down here in Brab boy country.
Yeah, it felt like we were just watching from above last time as the world was going by.
Mate, yeah, it's definitely more cozy, more comfortable. It's cool, man. Yeah.
What have you been doing, Dano? Like you've been exploding. We just talked earlier last time we were up. You know, you've nearly doubled your staff. You're going crazy. The brand's going crazy. You finished the Little Fish branding, man, which was amazing.
It looks awesome,
that was
man.
epic, man. Yeah.
We had fun together.
We worked on that for a year, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We needed all of that time to get it right as well.
Yeah.
100%. Couldn't be happier. And if you can please this guy to my left, you must be doing something right. But I sort of sat away from it a little bit. I'm pretty involved in it, I suppose. But yeah, it was amazing to see. It was amazing to see, you know, the magic that an agency like you can bring, because when you scroll through, you know, your social platforms, you see the people that are doing it well.
Yeah.
And we're about to be one of those.
Hey.
Yeah. And I reckon one of the keys, Dane, if I can sort of reflect on the experience, I reckon one of the keys to your team is they never rushed, no matter what the pressures were, no matter how big the pile got. It didn't feel like they were just trying to get us out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We weren't. It was there was a lot of care in getting it out. It wasn't just let's get these guys out so we can clip our ticket.
Yeah.
I feel like I felt that the whole way through because we had some complicated brands, as you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of convolution going on.
Like 6 sister brands all at the same time. So it was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. So it was a debacle. And it did take, and I think it took probably double the time even you thought, Dane, you know.
Yeah.
But you don't know that at the start until you start the process. And then, but yeah, it was good that, you know, it wasn't coming to that time where the timeline or time horizon that I guess we thought we were heading towards, and then we just tried to start, you know, let's just get it out, it's meant to be done. We really just didn't look at the time, and we just focused on the outcome, and the outcome was epic.
Well, the thing is this, I feel like the stakes are so high. Like now we've got the Bible and it all looks Mickey Mouse. Now we can launch, like, yeah, imagine being pushed out sort of, deadlines getting there and you feel like you're getting rushed and you feel like you've got an inferior product. Like, you know, I feel like time, and they always communicated. It felt like if they need the extra 2 weeks, it's like, you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like if it's going to continue at the level that it has.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, man. I think, you know, sometimes like it's understanding that for, I guess the way we look at branding, it's like art meets science. You know, it's part art, parts business science. So we're trying to organically create something that feels right for you, feels right for your audience, resonates with your business, matches your strategy and your plan. And then we're doing 6 of them all at once. So, you know, we had a lot of fun and we train our team internally to think about the facilitation of the client. That's why we don't do things by email. We try to get on a call. We try to talk it out. We try to figure out what the next maneuver is. And we just understand that you guys are investing your hard-earned cash to build something that you're proud of. So we take that seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. No, it was an awesome experience. We can see why you're growing the way.
Thanks, man.
The way you are. Now what's happening, mate? We're 2024. You know, what are you looking at? What are you doing? Your own brand's blowing up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Where are you focusing your efforts?
Yeah, I think last year as an agency that was scaling, because we started in I was freelancing in like, you know, the 2020-ish. And then from there, we started to slowly hire a few people. But now it's looking at last year, it was a lot of systemization. So we were trying to create structure for everything. Everything had a policy, a method, a procedure, a protocol. And when we're trying to form our C-suite team, it's just training those guys on how to manage and deploy everything culturally, manage and deploy everything with client relations, how to deal with complaints, how to, you know, keep clients happy, how to facilitate the process, hit deadlines. There's so many intricate pieces to running a branding agency. It can get quite complex because, like I said, it's art meets science. But for us, it was getting those systems squared away last year. And this year, our sights are on growth. So we're like, how do we produce more content? How do we get ourselves on more platforms? How do we get on stages? How do we educate more people? We're really trying to branch out and educate as many people as possible for free about what branding is. So whether they have access to an agency like us or not, we want to provide those assets and resources. So we're looking at YouTube, we're looking at the podcasts, we've got a book, we've got courses, we've got boot camps, live events. We're doing a lot of external content education materials this year. And that's where the focus is for us for 2024. Yeah.
Do you think that getting in front of people rather than just, you know, content consumerism is sort of the way forward, or is that just your strategy?
I think what I've seen is the old guard of our industry, if you will, are agencies that have been around 20, 30, 40 years. And there's a lot of branding agencies out there that they might not be famous, but they're really well known within the industry, right? So if you're Arnott's Biscuits or you're a television station, or like you have your go-to branding agencies that you would go to. So those guys have all networked their way into these positions where they can get called upon without having to do a tremendous amount of marketing and advertising. For us, being the new kid on the block, if you will, we noticed that not many of our competitors were producing educational resources. So we were like, branding is quite complicated, but we felt confident that we could make it accessible and you know, for anyone who's trying to get started, there's not a ton of branding resources out there that is speaking business language. A lot of brand resources out there and I've read all the books and done all the courses. It feels very academic teaching for the creative minds, but we're trying to bring it back over to, well, what would a business-minded person prioritize? What would they think about? So we're trying to produce educational resources for a business-minded person who wants to leverage creativity in their business. And with the advent of digital branding, like you have to have content these days. You have to have an epic website that's mobile accessible. You have to have, you know, a bit more aggressive plans when it comes to how to market yourself, because you're competing with the world now. Like you guys could hire people overseas. You could hire anyone international. It wasn't really as accessible 5 or 10 years ago. So for us, I would say our strategy is to try to be at the forefront of the agencies that are like, hey, we do this, but we're also going to give you all of this for free if you want to do it for yourself. So it's DIY content, but then also if you want to have us do it for you, we can as well.
So it's the old done by you, done for you, and done with you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a crazy concept, and it's something I've definitely learnt from Benny and something we've done, and I've seen it work firsthand. But I'd imagine like the majority wouldn't understand it. I wouldn't think the people that I would rub shoulders with, my mates growing up, it's definitely a sort of different concept. And like I said, I've seen it firsthand. But for people out there starting, Dain, I think the giving piece and the giving the value, it wasn't that long ago. I was like, so hold on, are we trying to charge for this, but you want to give it out on these platforms for free?
Yeah.
That, just for I'm a pretty logical person, didn't make a great deal of sense.
It doesn't.
Still doesn't. And I've seen it firsthand. Heard you guys talking about Hormozi before, going, we'll build a course, spend a lot of money, a lot of time, put on YouTube for free. Yeah. So just all those concepts are so foreign, but I'm definitely a converted.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate to be with somebody who gets it. But all that stuff is super crazy. So someone looking to start out there, can you just spend a little bit more time on that? Because that has to be foreign for a lot of people.
It is foreign. And I think the immediate fear that entrepreneurs typically have, especially people that have been in business for a while, is like, oh, man, I don't want my competitors stealing my stuff and then using it against me. That sucks, I would say that like a fun example of that is I saw someone talk about this. I can't exactly remember where, but someone said like, think about like Chef Gordon Ramsay. He gives away all this, content on television for free, like how to make recipes. And he's not trying to sell cookbooks. He's just trying to get in front of you and get attention. So then when you walk into Myers or you walk into Walmart, you're like, man, let me buy his cookware set. So it's by him giving you those free resources that sparks your interest to buy his product when you're in a store. Just as a random example. But as a business owner, I think the fear of like, oh, our competition are going to steal from us. My mind kind of goes into a couple different buckets. The first bucket is, well, if people are stealing from you, you're onto something. You're onto something that's worth stealing. And I think if something's worth stealing, it's valuable. So it means you're doing something valuable. And if you go, okay, but that could be harmful to me, it's like, okay, but is it helpful for the consumer? And if the answer is yes, the consumer is going to benefit. Well, then who are they going to want to do business with anyway? If you are doing it first and you're doing it well and the competitors steal it, you're still giving the consumers a ton of value. So then it comes down to who's winning the value war. Like who's giving the most value to the most people. That means that individual is going to get the most conversion to leads. And that's what I would term as content marketing. So if you look at Alex Hormozi, he gave away his course online for free. And Cam, who's behind the cameras here, was watching it live. And he was saying to me, what happened was Hormozi was doing a book launch and all the rest of it. And he had this webinar. I think the webinar was 2 or 3 hours. And during the webinar, he was like teaching and educating. And he was like doing a build up at the end. Like, I'm going to give you this and this and this and this is included. And he's doing the stack. He's doing like the Russell Brunson ClickFunnels stack. You're going to get this and this and this and this. It's a no-brainer. You should do it. And then everyone in the chat is like, oh my God, he's about to sell. Here comes the hard sell. Here comes the close. Like the whole community. And you got to remember there was 500,000 people watching him live. And he's getting roasted as he's building the stack at the end. And then at the very end, he's like, and it's all for free. Here's a link. Blew people's minds. But you got to remember in that webinar, he got 480,000 emails for doing a free webinar and giving away free resources and a free course. The dude has 500,000 emails. He can do with that what he will. But like, if you look at the engine room behind his business, what he has is acquisition.com. And we were chatting about this. Like his money comes from someone getting so much value through his content and whatever he gives away for free that they actually go and succeed in business. And then who are they going to remember that helped them? They're like, man, Hormozi, like I'm going to go to acquisition.com and pitch him owning half my company. So it's this relationship that I think is the new gen of marketing. So anyone who's listening to this, I would say like, look at content as a marketing strategy and probably, in my opinion, excuse me, the most effective, in my opinion, marketing strategy. And my agency, the ability to go from 0 to 27 people in just 4 years wasn't because I was doing clever ads. It was because I was giving away everything I could on social media for free. No catch. Here it is. Download it. Have it. It's all yours. But that built a tribe of people that want to throw money at me. They want me to write books. They want me to write courses. And, we wrote a book because our community demanded it. We're creating a course because people beg me daily, like, can you, for the love of God, create a course? Can you do live events? And we're like, okay, we're being so valuable that they're demanding it. So for me, I'm like, all of that energy, all that attention, all of that potential and possibility, if you could have that or keep your best stuff secret, like which one's going to transfer to more wealth long term? I would say with the advent of the internet and how easy it is to get your stuff out there, you can accumulate crazy amounts of wealth just through attention. Attention is currency. The more attention you have, the more you can transfer into money. And the way I see it is like when you have the attention, the audience will tell you what they want. They're like, we want courses, we want resources, we want another pod, we want exactly what you guys are doing. You've been listening to your community and you're like, man, they want a course on this. Let's go create that. So it's getting into that position where you're giving so much value, your competition don't know what to do with it. But to cycle back and just finish the loop here, the fear thing is, for me and the way I see it, is if you're giving away everything for free, and Hormozi says this, he's like, your competition can steal what you do, but they don't know why you're doing it. They don't know all the intricacies behind what it means. So if people look at what I'm doing, they might see my content and steal it, and they do, but they don't know why I'm doing it. They don't know what I'm doing with the attention. They don't know the back end. And you don't have to tell people the back end, but if you're nuts enough like Hormozi, he'll tell you the back end as well. Like he just gives it literally all away for free. It's crazy.
And the thing is, if they're just stealing, and they're going to get tired. They're going to get tired of that game and the stealing game and just trying to keep up while you're just on your path, blinkers on, doing your thing. That when you were talking about that, it reminded me, I saw a reel, a Gary V reel, and he talks about the Taylor Swift effect. And then Taylor Swift might get a message to sing at someone's 21st, and she'll pluck it and she'll actually go there and do it. Get the and Gary was just talking about in a marketplace where there's so much width, everyone's doing everything. The width is so wide. He goes, if you can do stuff and find the depth, that's that giving piece, isn't it? Like give until it hurts. Give until you're given more than anyone else. So you're finding depth in a market that's so wide. So saturated.
It's weird. Like, did you guys see the Kanye West Superbowl commercial?
I know, you know why? Because we've been on the road. So
yeah.
We haven't.
Dude, this is wild. So think about a Super Bowl commercial. It's always like crazy, loud, $10 million budgets with special effects and lighting crews and cinema photography. Like, it's the one time a year where ad agencies go all out on the pitch, all out on the bid, and they try to create a masterpiece. And there's been some pretty masterful ads over the years. Like if you Google Chrysler M&M ad, or if you Google even like the new Beyonce ad, that's an example of just an enormous budget on a commercial. Kanye West filmed a vertical video on an iPhone in his car, and it's nighttime, so you can barely see him. And he basically on the video just goes, what's up, guys? I spent all my money on this ad, but I don't have any money to do anything with it. But I got the spot. Go to Yeezy.com and we got shoes. That's literally the ad. So if you think about all of these epic Super Bowl ads, and then you see Kanye vertical, and he's just talking in his car, it's so radically different from what everyone else is doing.
Different.
Well, I wrote that down. I was going to say, here we are again, Dano.
Yeah.
Here we are again with your orange socks.
Hey, so
telling us how important it is to be different, because you're spot on. Don't be better, be different.
He's like crushing it with that ad, and he's made tens of millions of dollars on that one ad. And he just bought the spot and filmed a 30-second video on his camera. But the point is, like, that personalized feel was what resonated with the audience, not this high production stuff. The audience expects high production. What do they not expect? Someone to be very personable, because we all consume content on these devices every day. So that feels more relatable than this big cinematographic, masterpiece.
So people feel like Kanye's talking to them.
Yeah, directly to them.
Rather than all the...
Yeah, there's a few elements for me. It's one, it's very personal. It's a personal way to talk to someone. And then two, it's very anti what everyone else is doing. And I think if you do anti what everyone else is doing, you're going to get attention. And if you can do it right and be clever, it'll convert to money.
Yeah, I love it.
He's gone and dropped an album as well.
Yes. He's just ranked #1 above Taylor Swift, and the Swifties are going mad over it.
Yep.
Oh, really? With the new album?
Yeah. Because remember, he smack talked her on stage like...
Yeah, years
8
ago. Oh, that's
yeah.
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
When
And-
Beyonce, he wanted Beyonce to win.
Yeah, so the internet's just going crazy over that at the moment, but it's interesting. But the point being, I think, is you just got to think about how do we be very personal in a very digital world, and then how do we differentiate ourselves from what everyone else is doing and kind of go against the crowd. You don't have to be like Kanye against the crowd, but you just got to do not what everyone else is doing. Yeah.
I love it when you're talking about this and going back to the giving and being different and getting in front of people. I've got a mate who he works for a big builder and he's a gun, Murph. He knows who he is and he's looking to do something. You know, he's circa 40 years of age. He's like, next play, I'm going to do something for myself. And he talks about all these different sort of business plays. And I'm like, man, you got to do a YouTube channel. You got to do that. You got to, you know. So, you know, what advice would you give for somebody? And you know, this isn't someone who wants to take over the world in branding like yourself. This is someone who, you know, wants to start a business that, you know, he delivers water out to farms. You know what I mean? So they're running out of water. You know, the farms live off water, stuff like that. Or he wants to do a home building inspection company or something like that. You know, where can he, instead of him being the old 3 meat and veg, you know, archaic, we're in the yellow pages or whatever whatever.
Brucey's going the what?
What's the yellow pages? Yeah. No, I know
whatever
what it
someone would be like in the high pages or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, how does he, whatever he decides to do, how does he become the maddest friggin' water delivery guy that the Bellarine Peninsula's ever seen?
Yeah, I think it's more simple than it is complex. I think, you know, if you're just essentially turning a camera on and like having a one-way conversation with someone. So like when I used to sell insurance, you know, my and this is back when I was employed, my sales manager said something to me that kind of stuck with me for a long time. And he said, Dain, when you're on the phone selling insurance, try to imagine you're at a coffee table across from them just having a chat. And I still do that when I'm in front of a camera making content. I'm not talking to a mass audience. I'm talking to one person. So I think, you know, I've seen everything from people that do wheelie bin cleaning. For those that live abroad, it's our version of a bin that we put our rubbish in, put it out in the street, and the truck picks it up. But the guy literally had a business and a social media page where he'd clean wheelie bins and he'd film it. I've seen guys who mow lawns do it. They just do before and after videos.
The lawn mowing
The
guys
men-
getting around.
Getting
Nathan,
around,
Because they're
man.
satisfying. PK, think about it, right? Because they're satisfying, man. When
Oh,
you
yeah.
when you do a lot, like you got
it.
a long.
Look at this dirty bin. Look at
I'm
it.
gonna
now.
go watch the lawns get mowed now, dude.
Yeah. But I think you can make anything interesting. And as weird as it is, it's like you can make wheelie bins interesting.
Donut Daddy, you remember the Donut Daddy
man.
came out last year, and
There's
he was
another one.
just the way that he was just, you know, it comes back to just being different, man.
Just being
And
different,
just be
yeah.
different and put that out there, you know. So
Yeah.
look at what everyone, you know, like you said, it's more simple than it is complex. It's really looking at what everyone else is doing and going, well, I can't fucking do that. Because if I do that, I'm just going to be one of them. And if I'm one of them, I'm just one of them.
Yeah.
So you got to go and do something different.
So there was I don't know if you guys know Cohen Ray, but I was at one of his events and he was showing this case study of this guy who, you know, like those car parks that the linesmen, they come in and they engineer, or I don't know what the terminology is for it, but like they figure out how they get the maximum amount of car parks.
It'd be like
I actually know a dude that does this.
be like a
CG.
traffic engineer.
Shout out
potentially.
CG at Valley Wolf. That's what he
Hey.
does. Yeah, dude to play basketball.
What was it?
A traffic engineer. So potentially they
gig,
work
too.
on
Traffic
turning
engineer.
circles.
What a cool,
cars.
Yeah, car parks. So like,
Engineers,
so there was a guy who literally got paid to do lines in car parks and like engineer it, but he would film himself doing it, and he went from like a couple $100,000 a year to multi-millions of dollars a year just because he was doing Instagram content, filming himself doing that. The point is, like, I think you can kind of make content out of anything, like whatever your thing is, as long as you're sharing the before and after, the process, what you do day to day. Like, people are now Twitch streaming their whole day at work, and people are watching them like get out of bed, have a coffee. Like, people are streaming their whole life, and people are sitting online watching it, and it's strange to me, but I think if you capture what you do, it doesn't have to be miraculous or clever. It just has to be clear, and then people will connect with it.
And the story, I think if you can find a way to deliver it in some kind of story. So that's so like you said. So the water guy, for example, PK, it might be,
He's filling it up or whatever.
And then you've got the sound effects of it filling up like a coffee. If you see those coffee ones and the coffee things filling up, you could do shit like that, man. And then if he looks like a wanker, you can pretend you can play into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just being a wanker, but ultimately what you're doing is you're creating brand awareness and you're creating something that people are then sharing on to then create more further brand awareness and something memorable. So when people go, I need fucking water, they're not thinking of the other 30 dudes that are AP Waters and CC Waters and Surf Coast Waters. You know what I mean? They're thinking of, you remember Donut Daddy?
Yeah.
Let's go to his shop.
I think, and I think that one of the main things which I've been able to see it and learn it firsthand, you do that awareness and your front of mind piece, but people are seeing you do your craft and you're building the trust. And so when people go, oh yeah, I need water, blah, blah, and they look at, search it, and we're using water as example, you've got your branding, you've got property development, whatever it is, they see you do it and do it well, and they trust your message. They go, God, this guy or girl knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like you're the one they're going to call because you've built that trust, you've given it for free, they understand it, there's an educational element to it, you've taught them something, and it's like, well, I can't do it, I'll get that guy to do it.
Yeah, and I think the only nuance I would add here is like if you can add a personal touch to it, it makes it more impactful. Like if you go on the internet,
like a character.
Yeah, like if you go and look at like Gary Vee and how many followers he has versus VaynerMedia, he has way more followers than VaynerMedia. If you look at Richard Branson and Virgin, Bill Gates and Microsoft. If you look at Elon
Dain
Musk,
Walker,
I was about to
rival.
I was
Me,
waiting for
rival.
this spot. Dain Walker, rival.
Yeah, usually like the CEO.
We're back to front, but we're coming.
You're coming, right? So most, I would say this in most cases, like even if you look at, Tim Cook and Apple, right? So the point I'm trying to get at is people want to follow personal brands on social media way more than they want to follow a company. They don't want to feel like they're getting sold to, so they want to feel like they're having a relationship virtually with an individual, experiencing like one-on-one kind of, interaction, or at least feel like a fly on the wall watching their life. Like with Joe Rogan, you feel like you're on a fly on the wall watching a conversation. But with some influencers, you feel like they're talking directly to you. And for me, I'd say a lot of things that business owners tend to do wrong is they try to be too salesy. They try to put everything behind a sales wall. They're not just genuinely showing up and going, here you go. Like, here's a before and after of me mowing a lawn. Here's a before and after car park. Here's me cleaning the wheelie bin. That's
Always trying to finish it with a call to action or
Yeah,
something.
you don't have to. Like, I think if it's good enough, people will be like, top of mind. And that's the game. If you can say top of mind on social media, the minute they're like, man, you know what? I freaking need to get some branding done. Oh, who's that guy? Dain Walker. Let's go to his page and book him in. You know what I mean? So, like, if you could just stay top of mind and build that connection with that person, you'll crush it, man. It'll generate leads. But most of the leads we generate, they incubate on my Instagram for 6 months before they DM me, before they reach out. I'm just staying top of mind.
Yeah, I was 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was early, obviously, before you'd really blown up. But I spent 6 months on there doing the reels and the carousels and stuff.
You're
And
like,
then,
let's reach out to this guy.
yeah. Well, when
Yeah.
we came to branding, it wasn't even an option. Like
Yeah.
I said to Pete, I was like, well,
It's got to be this guy.
it has to be.
Yeah.
Because as far as I was concerned, you were the authority in the space,
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and that's I think that's one of the main things as well, which I've seen firsthand is these people they sit in the shadows, and they wait for the timings right for them, and you just keep doing your content, keep giving the value, and they will take as long as they need to take. And that's what I've learned early on. Every person you had to meet with face to face, and you're sitting there and they're colder.
Yeah.
They're like, what's this guy going to sell me? What's he going to do? But now, since years of content and education,
because they're almost like,
value,
prove it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
It's like, what do you so you had to sort of get in there somehow. Yeah. But the fact these platforms and giving the content, they come in and the walls are down.
Yeah,
it's like they know you.
People trust the messenger when they trust the message.
Trust the message, and it takes people different amounts of time, so they can go and do that on their own time, on their phones, and do that. And then by the time they come to you, they're ready.
Yeah,
because they've decided.
Yeah, and I think a few things that, like, how we played the game last time with color. This is maybe a game you can play in your own time. But when you're looking at social media content, there's really only 6 or 7 things that make something go viral. Do you guys have a guess of what something
Yeah,
might
okay.
be?
Yeah, all right.
Have a guess of like a theme of something that would go viral.
Oh, a theme. Transformation.
Transformation?
Yeah, that's
a good
one. Yeah, transformation. So from this to that.
Yeah.
Something satisfying to watch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So audio or visually satisfying.
Yeah.
Could it be something that's currently trending?
Yeah, I mean,
Topical?
yeah,
Currently
it's
topical?
hot off the press. Yeah, you're in the orbit. You're in orbit. You're in orbit. So you're right. I'm not gonna. You guys are absolutely correct. So the things that tend to go that create a mechanism for virality are these things. So first and foremost,
Write them down, PK.
Write them down, PK. So
Down, Bonnie.
So my friend Matt Purcell he uses this really cool example. He's like, imagine you're walking down a street and something weird happens. You got my attention. Let's just say you're walking down the street, everyone's on their morning commute, and someone's wearing a Pikachu outfit. You're like, that's strange. Boom, attention. So what can cause something to go viral is literally something that's strange. Have you guys watched an Instagram or TikTok where you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And you end up watching the whole thing. You're like, that was stupid. But you watched it, right? The second thing is danger. So something where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's on a mountain bike on the edge of a 3,000-foot cliff face. You know what I mean? Or that dude jumped out of space. Or like anything that's like gives you the heebie-jeebies of like, God, I can't believe they're doing that. It's so dangerous. Like danger will get your attention. The third one is familiarity. And it's like if you're in a bar, let's just say you're in a bar in Los Angeles and you hear an Australian accent on the other side of the bar. Familiarity's got your attention. You're like, I know that accent. Right? So things that feel close to home. This is why we love nostalgia. This is why we love references of our childhood. This is why you see a meme, you're like, oh, that's my wife or that's my best friend. Let me send it to them. Like that sense of like, that's very familiar to me. That stuff, if you've done it right, will go viral. Then, of course, you have sex. Sex sells, right? So like things that are very lust-driven or very evocative are going to get your attention. So is this making sense? I think,
absolutely.
Like when you're trying to produce content, you have to think about, am I striking one of these chords? Am I being strange? Am I creating a sense of danger? Am I being inflammatory? So, Donald Trump did this very well where he would say some whack shit and people would blow up, but his Instagram would peak.
Well, Andrew Tate's the perfect.
Andrew Tate's a great example.
Yeah, he's the perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff he says, he sensationalizes or whatever, he does it to get the attention.
Yes.
Brings people in, and then if you really listen to him talk and him be himself, it's a different kind of message.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
and Twitter got in trouble for this because they would actually prioritize negative content for a while there.
Right.
So they would notice if people were debating and arguing, the algorithm would pick up, this is a hot argument, and it would actually boost it. So it would actually add fuel to the fire. It's like, oh, there's an argument here. This will get attention, right? You know what I mean? So inflammatory stuff will certainly go viral if done right. And I'm just trying to remember the last one, Cam. What am I missing, dude? I think the last one, if I'm going through it, familiarity. Oh, aspiration. So like someone that has a private jet or a Lamborghini or, things that you aspire to. Let's just say the before and after, lawn mowing. You're like, fuck, I wish my lawn looked that good. Yeah. That aspirational dopamine hit. Like, I wish I had that connected with me, the before and after body shot, like that moment of inspiration. These things will typically go viral. So when you're on your socials next, just look at what's blowing up, something that has 16,000 comments and be like, is this strange or sexual or inflammatory? It's probably one of the 7 I just mentioned.
Yeah, it's cut through, isn't it?
It
How
is.
do we get through the front gate?
That's. I'd love to tap into Dain. Obviously, you're a bit of a master of the content. Not a bit of a master. You're a goddamn master of the content. Love to understand your creative process for the reels, because I know when we first sat down last year, there's been a shift between not you specifically, like in general, between on Instagram where those carousels are built. I correct me if I'm wrong, we're a big part of building your Instagram.
Yes.
They're sort of phasing out and we're moving more into the video, which is no secret to anyone. Can you take us through that creative process, more for me and the people at home just get to listen, but the creative process of coming up with a reel, are you scripting them?
Right.
And then beyond that, when you are scripting them or coming up with them, have you got a specific structure that you're writing to? Yeah, any secrets you can let out, ask them for a friend?
Yeah, I think to make this super simple, because I'm all about how do we make complex things simple and accessible to the masses. So if I were to, I guess, pick on you, Benny, like let's just say you were to start a personal brand, and you were gonna go all out making content on, let's just say, TikTok from today, and your goal is to get 100,000 followers on TikTok. Let's just argue that that's what you're trying to do. What are the top 5 things that you would like to talk about as topics on your TikTok?
For me personally, right
For
now.
you personally, yeah.
Like if I had a clean slate, I'd probably be the Melbourne Dain Walker. I'd be I'd be talking about branding and business and
cool.
Yeah.
So let's just say something that you're a genius at is like I know you're right into this is like SEO. Let's just talk about SEO because you've done a lot of that. You've built a lot of back end systems and stuff like that on websites. You love marketing, you love branding. But let's just say you pick, because I know you know a lot about SEO.
Yep.
Right or wrong, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's just say that's one of your themes. So the reason I say pick 5 themes is you want to think about like, what do I want to be known for? And like, let's just say I want to be known as like the best web developer on the planet. Let's just argue that that's what we're doing here. If one of your 5 themes was like, okay, SEO, you take that theme and then you attack it with questions from the consumer's perspective. So let's just say that I'm the customer. I'm like, cool, what is SEO? Right, one question. Why do I need it? How's it going to help me? Is it that important?
Does SEO work?
Does it work? Yeah. What's the current technique? Like if I just list 100 questions about that, you would just make content answering each question. Because you can break it down into a science. You could ask about SEO 1,000 different ways. I could, as a consumer, have 1,000 questions for you. They're probably going to be within 5 different caveats, like what is it, why do I need it, how do I do it, right? But like you can go right into the minutia of the questioning. Then you just want to basically, this is all you do. You get a blank sheet of paper for anyone who's listening to this. Pick your theme. In your case, it's SEO. For anyone who's listening, it could be makeup, it could be fashion, it could be being a PT, it could be how to gain muscle. Whatever your theme is, attack it with the questions from the consumer's perspective, the most desperate questions they would ask you, and then go, okay, I'm going to pick that question. What is it? And I'm going to answer it in 90 seconds with the best possible way I could answer it. Yeah. Give the funniest example and then come back. Can I use a bit of danger? Like what happens if you don't do it? Could I use a bit of familiarity? Well, hey, have you ever felt like this before when trying to do your SEO? You see what I mean? You can tap it back into, I'm going to make this strange. Here's a weird story about someone that did some crazy stuff with SEO. Like if you can attach it back to the virality, but then have a theme and then ask a question and answer the question. Once you have that topic, okay, I've got a thing I'm going to talk about. So the question's
your hook? Is that?
Yeah, so let's pick one. Let's just say, why do I need SEO?
Okay.
How would you kind of riff on answering that?
Why do I need SEO? To build up, I would say SEO is a function of authority.
Yep.
So when other websites link to your content, it's almost them putting their hand up and voting and saying, hey, this content's good over here.
Yeah.
And then the more people that do that, then creates the more authority for a page, and then you have internal, you can build up the authority of your own website internally by linking internally as well.
Right.
That's really, really complex something.
I know. Okay, so
that's the beauty of it.
Let me take that and let me jam with you on this, because this is what we do internally, right? So when you create content, it's really great to jam with someone who doesn't know your topic. So they could be like, Benny, I don't get it, man. So like, if you were to jam together, if you were like, I don't know shit about SEO.
Yeah, because we're totally different.
It's great to have someone who has no idea what you're talking about, because then they're like, it doesn't make sense. You go back and forth. And Mr. Beast does this. He whenever Mr. Beast creates content, he creates it at a 5th grade level.
Yeah.
So how do I get someone in the 5th grade to understand what the hell I'm talking about? So for what you just said, I've kind of jammed out on this before, where it's like, I kind of joke with my clients because I found this is the easiest 5th grade level to get a client to understand what SEO is. And I've done this before, is like, imagine you're in a relationship with Google. What does Google think about your website? And you're like, well, what do you mean? Well, imagine your website is a copy and pasted template from Shopify. 300,000 other people have the same template. Are you an attractive date? Are you the hottest thing at the bar? No, I'm just like everyone else. Great. Well, what you need to do with SEO is you need to do something others don't. So you got to create that romance with Google. So if we had 90 seconds, the opener could be strange. Hey, did you know you're in a relationship with Google? And the viewer's like, what are you talking about? That's what SEO is you building your relationship and romancing Google to love you. I'm listening. Like, you know what I mean? You got to kind of kind of lure them in with curiosity.
Intrigue.
Which is a hook.
Yeah, which intrigue. Is the intriguing hook.
You got to make it weird, dangerous.
Into a bit of a storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Familiar.
No, I'm with you. You know why I ask? Because that's something that's going to play a big part of my year, because we're working on Pete's personal brand. Yeah. Something I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
So, and as you know, we work closely somewhat. We're following each other pretty closely. So yeah, it's going to be a big part of my year, figuring that out, and it's something that I've been really excited about, because it's really unpacking, going into the minutiae, like I said, around hooks and curiosity loops and cliffhangers and all of these things that fit into 90 seconds.
It's the same stuff like midday television uses.
Yeah.
You know, there's midday TV movies that just are awful, but they just keep you hooked. You're like, what's going to happen next? And this movie sucks, but I can't stop watching. Like, if you can get people engaged through just the simple breakdown, like, again, you've got 90 seconds, so you got to be super hooky. And it's where maybe you're going to crush more like 20-minute YouTube videos, but then maybe this is what you need to figure out is like, what's your process, right? So my team have figured out that I'm better at creating a long format because I can just talk till the cows come home. We film that, and then the team, Cabe and Cam, go, that 1 minute was sick. Let's reshoot that in a minute. So my process seems to work backwards. Some people can create short form and turn it into long form. I seem to work best creating a long format and then breaking it apart. So from what I understand, it's all about making you comfortable in your creation process, because the way you're going to make content is different to me. Maybe you might love a teleprompter and I hate it. Maybe you like to freestyle.
I just think, Dain, I've been like, because you're right, exactly. But yeah, like if you could, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to explain it. So with I'm thinking more like, the way I'm looking at it is trying to be short form first.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because most people we are as well, and most if not all podcasts are out there. They do the long form and then they clip up to create the short form and the hooks and stuff. And even when we do, like you were saying, then you would create a long form and then you'd find a good piece and then shoot it short form. Yeah, I think it's really tricky to try and schedule a short form educational video from the flat. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, A, is that a good idea? And B, like, if it is, how to do it? Because I feel like, again, going back to that being different piece, right? And trying to stay out in front and looking at it different to everyone else and going, okay, what if we reverse that and we go, we shoot it, we script it, and everything is all just short form first. Yeah. Not pulling it from the long form.
So I got an interesting story then, because if we're coming back to, storytelling. So one of my friends, Caleb, he was the guy that worked with Gary Vee in 2014 and really helped build Gary Vee's content creation system. And then you've got, where he works now, whereas he works for the Hormozis. So he works with Layla Hormozi as well as Alex Hormozi. So what he was explaining to me was Gary Vee's style was, it's all about LinkedIn. And he was like leading the charge. We're going to go film this, do it this way, make this happen. Like Gary was like architecting and producing what he wanted. Whereas when he moved over to work with the Hormozis, the approach for Layla and the approach for Alex was totally different. So Layla, he would basically write notes around, I think we should film this content. He'd send it to Layla. She'd sit down with it and rewrite it her way. Then they would sit down to film, and then she would basically just get asked a question and sit there and answer the question and go off some scripts as well. Whereas Alex was more, they'd send him the notes and then sometimes he'd read it, sometimes he wouldn't. But they said it would be better content if they'd sat down with him and filmed it, if he'd sat up the night before and wrote his own notes. Whereas where he didn't, it'd be still good, but it wouldn't be as good. But they would try to film around their lifestyle. So content creation for people that are busy in business like yourself, it's almost like the content team have to kind of mold themselves to your lifestyle. Layla's essentially running acquisition.com, and her life is, 80% of it can't be filmed because she's in a lot of very exclusive meetings. But whereas Alex, they can kind of film him all the time. The point I'm getting at is I think some people do better literally sitting in front of a camera, and I've tested all of this. I've tested sitting in front of a camera with a teleprompter and just reading the teleprompter. I've tested writing my own scripts. I've tested Cam writing the scripts, and then I revised it. We've tested freestyling it, but what I've found works for me is I literally turn a camera on, and Cabe, my video guy, just literally has some notes. He briefs me on the notes. We talk about it back and forth for a little bit. Then we turn the camera on. Then he just asks questions, and I answer them. And then he finds out what to do. That just seemingly was my most comfortable situation. Like Gary's comfort zone is Q&A. Get me on a stage, get me to do live Q&A. That's his thing.
Even his videos and stuff.
Right?
For sure,
That's his style, but that's not my style. I like to sit and percolate and riff on questions in a conversation format.
And tell stories. I feel like, Dana, I just think of a lot of, you tie it back to old branding stories or old branding stuff. So is that stuff riffing, or that stuff's you sort of going, oh, this, the evolution of this logo, that's obviously more prepared?
Some of it, yeah, we've tested everything. I think, my encouragement would be to see what works for you. Yeah. Like if you like sitting up and reading and researching and writing down notes and then getting in front of a camera, or if you want someone else to write the script for you and you literally read it out, or you do Q&A, I think everyone's very different. I like writing. Like it was really interesting sitting down and writing a book. It reprogrammed my brain in a very different way. But to answer your question, I think everyone's so different, and I think everyone should experiment.
So just throw against the wall and see what sticks.
Literally,
that's what we do anyway, isn't it, Pete? We've always just made it up. We've never really had anyone that we've sort of moved with.
Yeah,
down in Melbourne. So we literally just make it up.
I know, but Tim Ferriss has this great quote, and he said, "The good shit sticks."
Yeah.
Throw mud at the wall, throw shit at the wall, and something will stick, and you'll be like, "That worked." Because Caleb and Cam and the team and I are always just like, let's test this, let's test that. So the social platform now, like you were saying with the carousels, 4 years ago, carousels were the shit on Instagram. They were getting crazy reach because no one was using it was like a new feature and no one was using it. And I was like in the first month using that feature aggressively, and I was getting insane, obnoxious reach on the platform. Whereas, I feel like Instagram's going through this schizophrenic era where it's like, am I TikTok? Am I still Instagram? Am I both? It's bipolar. It doesn't know what it is. And I think now it's starting to really feel like a video-centric platform. It's definitely feeling like it's stabilizing. And it is more difficult to grow on Instagram, but I would say you can't just copy and paste content anymore. You can't film an Instagram video and treat TikTok the same way and treat YouTube Shorts the same way. You got to look at YouTube as like a search engine for video. And you got to look at TikTok as a conversation. And then you have to look at TikTok, as entertainment centric. You have to look at Instagram as conversation centric. You have to look at LinkedIn as academic centric. And you have to look at YouTube as solve my problem centric. So I think just the approach, we can't be lazy anymore and just paste it everywhere. You have to make TikTok content.
So are we talking the actual content itself, or are we talking the packaging? So we're talking the titles and stuff, because when you say, for example, YouTube's a search engine, that's correct, right?
Yeah.
So that would make sense that you would optimize the title and stuff for search.
Yeah.
Whereas the conversation is happening in Instagram, so maybe you're using more conversational techniques in the caption opposed to search, looking for rich search terms or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by packaging it different, or do you mean both? Shooting completely different content, or is it the editing that's different?
I think both, because I would say that arguably on TikTok, it's all about dopamine and serotonin. It's just like boom, dopamine hit, boom, dopamine. It's just constant. And I feel like the video needs to have this fun, sporadic, kind of crazy editing style.
Yep.
That doesn't seem to do as well on Instagram. It seems to be a bit more calm on Instagram. Mm. And on YouTube, you can still do these techniques and you could still argue that they work, but it just seems that the status quo on each platform does differentiate in feel and approach and tone.
And tempo and
Yeah.
Oh, no, I do. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I haven't mastered all the platforms.
And
which is
you
what
know,
I've seen,
and you know, like I'm just thinking about it now, and that's why most people don't fucking master them, right?
Yeah.
Because you try and master them all, and you end up the master of none. So,
Yes.
so I think the ones that that go, you know what, I'm a TikToker,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be a really good TikToker. I'm going to master this. They figure out the algorithm because the algorithms are all different, right?
Yes.
So yeah, they figure out that one, but it makes total sense.
Yeah, I my advice is always just pick one and nail it.
Yeah, because we're going out to all of them. That was part of the thing that we said this year, me and Bonnie. Shout out Bonnie, legend. So, it's not just about getting it out this year. Do you know what I mean? It's really about making sure that
Optimizing.
Optimizing, but the right content's going on the right platforms, opposed to just all the content's going on all the platforms.
Yeah.
So, and that comes down to our branding, Dano, which for example, like this podcast, as you know, which is the biggest bloody thorn in our side as far as from a branding perspective. Yeah. So it's been a great I've lost where I was going.
Yeah, it's crazy, Dane. That I guess the depth to all this stuff is mad. Like I'm trying to tell my mates, hey, do some content.
Yeah.
And then we just went into like pointy end stuff.
Yes.
We went into like
it's scary stuff sometimes, yeah.
But how can I to not scare your friend down there on the peninsula?
Yeah.
It's not
He
that
doesn't
fucking
scare
scary.
them,
It does sound scary, and we sound like geniuses, right? But we really only know one step further than what everyone else knows, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that much. It's probably 5 things. We're talking about a hook, a curiosity. You know what I mean? Like, we're really banging on about the same stuff. So you're talking about the type of content and then the way that you structure it. You know what I mean? So if you're going to make it, there's no point just shooting, your guy with the water. There's no point just shooting it. If you're going to shoot it, you might as well take a few steps backwards and figure out what kind of structure should I shoot it in that's going to give me the best chance to get it out.
Yeah.
Hey, boys, quick one, asking for a friend, because I think like crazy value now, thinking from a mate, but is there demographics on certain platforms? So,
right.
So if his company, someone 22 years of age isn't ordering a truck of water, you know what I mean? They're ordering for their farm. So there's demographics at play. So like Benny said, you go, all right, well, how do we master one platform? All right, well, which platform is the one to do? Is it relevant to your target audience and their age and their demographic and the way they behave?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I've got my experience, but I would say, like, I've heard people say, Instagram, you're not going to get good leads on there. And I'm like, dude, I've made, multi 6-figure deals on Instagram. So I would say, like, the generalization of the do's and don'ts of what platforms do and don't do, it's like not completely accurate. There's delineation in that. But I would say, generally speaking, you're going to go on LinkedIn and people are more business minded. Generally speaking, Instagram are a bit more cruisy, and generally speaking, TikTok is a bit more like just entertainment centric. And weirdly enough, I think it was Cabe that was telling me that YouTube is predominantly a male audience. So like some platforms do skew different with the demographics. Interesting.
And it's the old shit sticks, right?
Yes.
So it's the old shit sticks, man. We're back there again where you go, which platform? I don't know. Maybe we put it out and you see which one's getting the most traction. It is crazy, man. And you would know this because this is a good little segue to your podcast, Dano. But isn't it wild the variations between the statistics between the platforms? Because you can have we have stuff that goes like fully bonkers, like viral on one platform, and doesn't get a look in on the other.
I've had that happen.
Yeah,
I've had
the
the same piece of content. It does nothing on TikTok, did okay on Instagram, and went viral and created an argumentative debate on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's wild. It's
so like you can never pick it.
Never
So
know,
like
man.
I'd definitely say, like, do test putting the same content on every platform, just seeing what sticks. But I think to take the fear away, it's like anything. Like, imagine, like, what was your first job?
Let's call it working at Pizza Hut.
Okay. Were you freaking out when you started? Like think about your first day. Was there any overwhelm or stress?
There would have been anxiety there for sure.
Yeah. It's the same with anything. I think if anyone listening to this is like thinking about the first job, the first day you ever had a job, you're like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? What's the boss going to say? Like, you're going through these anxious moments. The same thing's going to happen with social media. You go, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to make fun of me? Am I going to be good at it? Am I going to be bad? It's almost like just treat social media like a job, and it's something you got to figure out. Because if you're running a company, you got to figure this thing out, because it could be the difference between you having a $300,000 year or a $3 million year.
Yeah, that's crazy advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
If you just appreciate it, it's just like, it's a job, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect day one. I'm not going to be the CEO of Pizza Hut on day one, but I might be able to go in there and learn a few things about how to cut a pizza and how to throw it in the oven. Like, if you just treat it like I'm in progress, I'm a student to this thing, and I'm just going to figure it out as I do it. And I think if you just give yourself permission and space to fail as you go, the anxiety starts to dissipate. It starts to become less noisy. It starts to become less fearsome. You just start to get into a groove, because I've had debates with people where they're like, I'm never going to make content. And then after an hour of just saying, look, just give it a crack, just have a go, just film something, put it up. They put their first post up and they're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And then they put their second up and they're like, that was easy. Third one, that was kind of fun. Fourth one, oh my God, I got a lead. And all of a sudden the fear's gone after like 4 posts. And I think it's just that first one. It's that first time, the first day you ever go to the gym, the first job you ever had. It's the same feeling. If you just stick into it anyways, the fear will go away.
And you just make it bigger in your own head, don't you, PK?
Yeah.
Make it way bigger, because you
Just do
think
it, yeah.
you got 500 people on the tube watched you. So you're walking around the supermarket, think, fuck, I hope
They're going to spot me.
yeah. And then you realise...
Getting around with the hat down,
the hat's
sunny's
down.
on.
Then you're picking up your donuts and you realise, no one actually gives a fuck, dude. Like, those 500 people, they're nowhere. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
funny.
I know what
like,
you
it's just, you just cook this thing up in your head.
Yeah.
To
Like I've got
unrealistic
600,000
proportions.
followers and I've been noticed in public 4 times.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
And one time while I was at a cafe.
One of them was me.
Yeah, one of them was you.
No.
One I was at a cafe on the Gold Coast at Rafiki, and this guy is just staring at me, and I'm like, why is this dude looking at me? And he's like tilting his head and pointing at me and talking to his wife. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna order my coffee. He goes, Dain? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, I knew it was you. You know, so it's pretty rare. You have to. I would argue you'd have to have a pretty massive audience to
600,000 is a lot of people.
for 4 people in public noticing me. Sometimes I'm like, is that person staring at me? Maybe they know me. Like, it's pretty hard to get that known, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I was down at the local cafe the other day, and a guy noticed from this pod.
I'm never going to
It's
forget.
got about 4 followers, and he was like little fish. So he called me little
forget
fish.
the dude that drove past that
called me
day.
Yeah, the dude
Yelling out
doesn't
the
even know your
window.
name. He's like, you're the little fish guy.
The dude
Little
drove
fish.
past the office one day.
Yeah.
He's yelling, "Big guy,
Yeah.
well off the pod."
And I just didn't know what to say, and he goes, oh man, keep up the good work, been watching the pod, loving it. And I said, oh, thanks, man. I said, yeah, well done. He goes, man, well done to you, you're doing it. I said, oh, well done to you, you're watching us. So you're putting up with
It
it.
doesn't feel real when people say that lately.
I
to be
fully
fair-
butchered it, and I would have said different things to him.
Yeah.
A bit more appreciative.
Did you
of
get
that
him
sort
down
of
the run
stuff.
club?
No, he's down in God's country, mate. He's not up in town. But anyway, yeah.
He's
it's-
probably
it's-
listening to us
it's a
right now.
weird
Like,
thing.
yeah.
Pete's got one of those
I got
heads though,
noticed.
and Pete will back me up on this. Like
Yeah.
long before we started Little Fish. Do you know how many people say to Pete all the time? They go, "You look familiar."
Yeah, really? So you're getting it a lot,
He
man.
does get it a lot, but this is before his
Yeah.
YouTube
No,
channel.
that was before.
Before, so saying
You do have one of those faces.
he does. Like, he's one of those
Yeah.
people that people always say,
Just
"Fucking,
standard.
where do I know you from?" And Peter will be like, "No, you don't."
But now you have an answer. You're like, Little Fish Podcast. You're like, what's that?
Okay.
Go look it up.
Subscribe,
share,
brother.
subscribe.
Use it as a marketing ploy.
No, this has been epic, Dano, because
been
I
awesome,
was
Dano.
going to
Crazy
schedule in a call,
insights,
but now I don't need to.
Don't send us an invoice. Either.
Tell you what, I just want to go back to your to Rivyl again in our experience, because
Yeah.
it's really important. I want to say this, man. I think the greatest thing that I learned from working with your team is the people that you've built there, which is testament to you
Thanks.
and who you are, because I didn't meet a weak link, man, and I'm looking for him. Like PK said, I'm hard to fucking please, man, because I know what I want, and I'm not difficult. Just give me what I want.
Yeah.
What we agreed to, my expectations is that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I have to say, man, I worked with, look, I'm not going to rattle them off because I'll leave one, but
Yeah.
every one of them, all cohesive, working together, working as a team, all shooting in the one direction. Love the personality that comes through and the communications that come through in the emails, and I understand that's not a mistake either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of that stuff, all the details, man. So congratulations, because we went through with, it was 5 brands, not 6.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you owe me a brand.
Sorry.
But yeah, we went through a whole year. It was over a year, right? Because it was the previous. So it was over a year process, and it was an absolute fucking pleasure. And I have, people the people out there haven't seen it roll out yet, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been working on it for a year, but it hasn't began to roll out, or very slowly. But people out there will get to see us, and we're the perfect example of what these guys do. And if you're fair income about business, man, how people perceive things determines how they react. And these guys are the best at what they do. So if you're going to invest in anything, because the thing that pisses me off, the thing that people skim on all the time when they start a business is their brand.
Yep.
And what they don't understand is the brand is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's how people, like I said, how people perceive things determines how they react. And you can have the best product, service, or whatever, but if you're not putting that or positioning that in the marketplace, no one's going to know. So I just wanted to put that out, Dain, because
thanks,
they're facts. Because
Hey.
you've set us up to go to a level that we never thought we could go to, man. And you think, oh, what? Because of a logo? No, it's not that, man. We've got fucking 5, 60, 70, 80 page guides that me and Pete, for the first time ever, don't have to, every single person that enters our business or that we enter into a contract or an engagement or anything with, we don't have to be there and articulate who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, all of that shit that just is exhausting. We get to then empower our team, they get to learn it, and then they get to share it and stuff, and then that's how collectively we all pick up the boat and we move forward. So hopefully that wasn't too long, but I genuinely mean,
thanks, man.
Because you know what, Pete's right, man, it took 6-7 months longer than any of us thought. And that's the first thing that would normally piss me off. Do you know what I mean? But because, like Pete said, we knew where we were at the whole time. We knew what we were doing. We knew the journey we were going on. It wasn't even a thought. So again, man, thanks, Dana. It's been a pleasure, meeting you and knowing you and learning from you, man. And
thanks, man.
You're an inspiration, dude. Me and Pete both look up to you, man. And yeah, it's a pleasure, the friendship that we've built, I suppose.
Yeah, we're friends now, man. Thank you.
Yeah. That's well said, Benny. Well done, man.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think to look at business, there's the book The E-Myth, one of my favorite books. Not gonna lie, it's a bit hard to get through the read or the audio, but it's to leave it on one note. To me, branding is about building a system of decision making, because as an entrepreneur, you have so many decisions to make. What font do we use? What color do we use? What do we do with social media? What do we do on the website? How do we structure things? How do we edit photos? How do we sell? How do we pitch? How do we talk? What's our tone? What's our vibe? What's our voice? There's so many questions. And I think building a brand forces you to answer all of them painfully, literally to bone pick your business to pieces.
Getting asked what car you'd be, what drink you'd be, what piece of furniture you'd be. It's crazy.
How do we feel? What's our mission?
And it never
What's
stops.
our story?
And that's the thing, it never fucking stops.
It never
Because
stops,
it's a
man.
flyer, it's a billboard, it's a business card, or what about over here? Oh, I'm doing this document.
What do we do with
Excel
captions?
sheet.
What hashtags do we use? There's so
exactly.
much.
And you're spot on, and because you get stuck in, and that's why it took a year, right?
Yes.
Because you get stuck in the doing, and it's not like you can just stop doing and then go and build this stuff. So and then I've never heard anyone explain that. It's a Bible for decision making, because that's what it is. Because that decision making, the reason I'm so up and about it, because that decision making lived in my fucking head.
You want your team to make the decisions for you.
Freaking 7 years it lived in my head, right? Every branding decision, tweak or bit of padding or whatever, it had to be just each time, and then it was never consistent. Once you start to get 5 brands, you might go, I'm going to move into this style, but then it's not consistent because you're relying on your memory and it gets convoluted. So it really is important for anyone
Sports
out
needs
there.
a rule book, and your business needs a brand.
From the outset.
Bible.
So you need a plan.
Yeah.
You need a business plan. Whether it's up here or down there, but you need to understand your brand. Because we had that we had Dylan Mullen on, who's the genius, man, 100%, man, and it really is just understanding. He's an e-commerce guy, and I always look at the e-commerce guys as brand guys, right?
Yes.
Because they're just finding products that that have got solving problems or whatever that already exist, but what they're doing is they're positioning brands in those marketplaces and telling stories through brand. That's the power of brand, man. You know what I mean? So.
Nailed it. Yeah. I get so excited about branding ideas.
Me too, man.
Nerding out on it.
Well, boys, I think we wrap this up. You boys are actually just getting warmed up. So
Yes. For another.
Sorry, Brucey.
Part 3. I'm just learning all this.
Bruce, are you here, are you, mate?
Yeah.
I'm just learning and taking it all in.
Yeah, take some notes over there, brother. But
Brucey's talking e-commerce. I'm trying to talk him out of it because I don't want him to boom.
Dano, mate, thanks so much for your time.
Hey,
thanks so
thanks.
much. I know you're a busy man.
Thank you.
I think we might even be going out for dinner later on. So.
Yeah.
Go.
Love it, brother. Please like, share, subscribe. Get on. Every dollar we donate goes towards our amazing charity, Epidermolysis bullosa, EB. I need to say EB first. Hit the pink button, littlefishpodcast.com.au. That was a wicked episode. Anyone who's thinking about business or is in business, you need to share it with them. See you at the top.
See you at the top.
People want to be part of a winning team.
People can find a better version of themselves if they choose.
You just need to go start some shit.
Action is all that matters.
Be a man of your word.
I think I look back now and I'm like, whoa, that took some guts.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
See you at the top. New episode every Wednesday.